There has been a lot of discussion about whether we should grant non-human animals moral status. This seems to imply that moral status is ours to give. It isn't. An organism either has moral status if it is possible to act wrongly against it, or the organism lacks moral status. Whether we should grant moral status to animals depends on whether animals actually have moral status, which is something we can be wrong about. I will, going forward, assume the existence of these kinds of objective moral facts. Murder is in itself wrong will be treated as either objectively true or false, like the earth is round. I'll also assume that one of these facts is that the pain of sentient animals is intrinsically bad. Vegans tend to focus only on establishing that animal pain is bad. They tend to neglect the topic of whether death is bad for the animal that dies. I think this is a mistake. Philosophy is not required to get most people to agree that animal pain is bad. Simply seeing it is enough to convince them. However, it is widely held that to painlessly euthanize an animal is not in itself wrong, even if that animal would have a good life otherwise. There are two ways to argue against this claim. The first is to deploy arguments that have been historically successful, like name the trait or marginal cases. There is no set of traits that an animal lacks which, if a human lacked, it would be permissible to euthanize the human. Syllogisms, even informal ones, are pretentious for a YouTube video, but they are the only way to avoid being misunderstood. Premise 1. If self-awareness or rational agency fully explain why death is bad for humans, then death is not bad for severely intellectually disabled humans or infants. Premise 2. Death is bad for severely intellectually disabled humans and infants, and is therefore bad for either. Conclusion 1. Neither self-awareness nor rational agency fully explain why death is bad for humans. Premise 3. If neither self-awareness nor rational agency fully explain why death is bad for humans, then death is bad for animals. Conclusion 2. Death is bad for non-human animals. The phrase fully explains requires clarification. A property A fully explains another property B if B is found in all and only those entities that have A. Why should we believe that the third premise is true? Well, self-awareness and rational agency are traits most frequently cited in attempts to explain why death is bad for humans, but not other animals. If death is still bad even in the absence of these traits, then it's hard to imagine what else could make death bad for humans but not other animals. A second way to show that death is bad for an animal is to imagine the following. A cat requires a slightly painful surgery to survive. If the cat receives the surgery, the cat will live a happy life. If the cat does not, the cat will die painlessly. Assuming that painful states are bad for the animal that experiences them, we can argue the following. Premise 1. If being dead is not worse for the cat than being alive, then it is not better for the cat to receive the surgery. Premise 2. It is better for the cat to receive the surgery. Conclusion. Being dead is worse for the cat than being alive. Conclusion 2. Painlessly dying is bad for some non-human animals. Dying is bad for sentient animals because one primary way it is bad for humans is that it deprives us of a valuable future. This is true of animals as well. Personally, I've never seen an anti-vegan argument presented as a logically valid syllogism, but presumably 4chan and Reddit are not the places to go looking for one.